It began with a beep, not the loud kind that demands attention, more like the subtle alert from a news app that no one reads. Breaking, inflation rate up 2.7% in the last 10 minutes. People scoffed. Economists scratched their heads. But nobody panicked. After all, inflation fluctuated all the time. The world had seen worse, except this time it didn't stop. By the end of the first hour, the cost of a cup of coffee had jumped from $3 to $27,000. Nobody even noticed at first because the digital payment systems couldn't keep up. Restaurant owners stared at blinking registers that tried to auto-adjust every second. Bank apps crashed. Price-updated signs began appearing in storefronts like glitchy pixels in a corrupted video game. The next morning, the world woke up poor. People who went to sleep with savings found that their accounts could no longer buy them a sandwich. Paychecks became instantly obsolete. One man in Germany tried to buy his morning train ticket and watched the number on the screen rise from €100 to €1,000,000 before he could press confirm. The machine rejected the transaction. He stood in silence, clutching his credit card like a souvenir from a vanished era. News anchors looked visibly terrified. One even wept on air. Economists tried to explain it, something about runaway systems, feedback loops, digital autoscaling gone rogue. But the math no longer mattered. A trillion meant nothing when a loaf of bread cost quadrillions. And that was 5 minutes ago. Cash became confetti. People began decorating their homes with banknotes, taping them to walls, folding them into birds, burning them for warmth. Coins were used as skipping stones. Credit cards were melted into jewelry. The economy didn't collapse, it evaporated. Governments tried to intervene. Central banks injected trillions, which became worthless milliseconds after. Attempts to re-anchor currencies to gold, energy, or even Bitcoin failed. Everything inflated. A gold bar was valuable until you had to pay a mountain of them for toilet paper. Bitcoin holders were billionaires for one heartbeat, then paupers the next. Numbers ballooned beyond comprehension. Bank balances had more zeros than a blackboard after a prank. Then came the chaos. People looted not out of greed, but necessity. Supermarkets became battlegrounds. A bottle of water cost more than a nation's GDP, and 5 seconds later, double that. Time became money, literally. Every second you hesitated meant another tenfold increase in price. Children were sent into stores with stopwatches and calculators, parents shouting across aisles like generals in wartime. Bartering made a comeback. Toothpaste for eggs. Gasoline for insulin. But soon, even bartering struggled because nothing held stable value long enough. One woman traded her car for a can of beans, only to find that, a moment later, beans were less valuable than socks. A guy tried to sell his house for a banana. The banana rotted. The house collapsed. No deal. Oddly enough, the tech world lasted the longest. Programmers and data scientists holed up in bunkers, running servers and building underground systems of trade based on processor time and storage. But even that failed as electricity prices spiraled into oblivion. A kilowatt-hour cost more than Mars. Eventually, the only things that mattered were tangible, timeless, and local. A bowl of rice. A fire pit. Trust.in small communities, people stopped talking about money altogether. They built what they could, grew what they ate, traded what they knew. It was messy at first, brutal even. But in time, they remembered how humans used to survive before they put faith in zeros and decimal places. The old world didn't vanish in a dramatic explosion, it simply inflated itself out of reach. Abandoned cities became monuments to mathematics gone wild. You could walk down the street and see frozen ATMs displaying balances like $9.99, $9.99, $9.99, $9.99, $9.99, $9.99, $9.99, $9.99. And yet no one would even bother to break the glass. Children grew up without the word dollar. They learned to count eggs, seeds, time, sunlight. They learned patience. Trust replaced contracts. Sharing replaced credit. Some old-timers still joked about the days when you could buy a burger for $5. They told stories of price tags and receipts, of salaries and retirement accounts. The kids would listen wide-eyed, not sure whether to believe it was real or some wild bedtime fantasy, and somewhere, buried deep in a server no longer powered, the global price index continued its final calculation, spinning toward infinity.